2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 14. We're going to talk about a hard topic tonight. Let me get the microphone. There's certain things in the church that are taboo, Brother Bill. Everybody says, oh no, you ain't supposed to use that word. Well, too late, I guess. The taboo is something that you ain't supposed to mention, ain't supposed to talk about, or ain't supposed to touch. And inside the 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 14. And so where we're going to start at, there's going to be several more verses that you may or may not want to try to flip there with me. I may sail through those pretty quick. But, you know, you ain't supposed to talk about politics because people get offended. You ain't supposed to preach on denomination when you got visitors there because they might get offended.
Yeah, come on.
And we've got some kind of concept now inside the church that we ain't supposed to preach on holiness because people might get offended. And so I was a little bit shocked when the Lord began to deal with me on this message. And Brother Scott sang that song tonight by the Henson's Storefront Church. And there was a line in there that as they were singing it, God began to deal with me about being holy. And this message has been the culmination of probably 2 weeks worth of things God's given me here and there and dealt with me on it. I told Mom and Dad I was going to be preaching on it, and Dad was probably on a little different marker than I was about holiness, but holiness is something that I think that we failed to talk about enough. The Church of God itself, not to overly tie the denomination into this, but if you go back to their first meetings back in the early 1900s, Brother Porky, it was about holiness.
Yeah.
They debated right and wrong in their midst about what people should and shouldn't do.
Yeah.
Now, 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 14, this is Paul writing to the Corinthians, and he begins to read like this. He says, "Be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers."
Yeah.
Now, first of all, yoked, for the older people here, we know what that is. Yoke was when you put 2 horses or ox or mules in front of a plow and you stuck that thing around the neck, that way they could pull that plow. That's called a yoke. Right? Porky can back me up. Not that you're older, Porky, but just relying on your being raised in Mount County. And Pastor Bill says he remembers them too. But that was a yoke. Now, if you were unequally yoked, then one mule or donkey was doing more work than the other. It wouldn't pull right and nothing went right. Okay? And so that was the concept that Paul was striking at right here. He said, "Be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers." You didn't put an ox and a donkey together, and you didn't put a horse and a mule together generally. You stuck 2 of the same kind. They didn't work the best when you mixed them up. So he says, don't be equally yoked. "For what fellowship," now this right, listen to this. "What fellowship hath righteousness with unrighteousness?" You know what oil and water is, right? That's when you try to put, you ever put oil and water together, it don't mix for long, does it? I want you to keep that concept in mind as we read these verses. It separates. He says, "What fellowship hath righteousness with unrighteousness? And what communion hath light with darkness?" You can't have light and dark in the same room. Light runs it out. Now that's not to say, Sister Tony, that we're not supposed to be around people of the world. That the Lord Jesus was around all of them. But there's difference between being around Brother Porky and partaking in what they're doing in. See, therein lies the problem. I can't go to the bar and call myself holy and kick back and get boozed up with my buddies. The Bible's against that. I can't call myself a Christian, Brother Scott, and be doing things of the world. I can go into a bar with them guys and I can minister all night long if God leads me there, but I can't just be in there doing what they're doing. It don't work that way. But now think about that. What communion hath light with darkness? And what concord hath Christ with Belial, which is another word for Satan? As a matter of fact, to give you kind of a reference who Belial was, the sons of Eli. Eli was a priest in the first Samuel, the guy who raised Samuel. His sons, Hophni and Phinehas, were priests, and they were doing bad things. They were stealing off people. They were carrying on with women around the temple, and it was just bad. What concord hath Christ with Belial? Or what part hath he that believeth with an infidel? An infidel is an unbeliever. And what agreement hath the temple of God with idols? You can't serve two gods. Y'all know that, right? Amen. For ye are the temple of the living God. As God has said, I will do it. Now listen, these next three verses, the end of 16, 17, and 18, Paul puts together verses out of Leviticus, out of Jeremiah, and out of Isaiah to build the next statement. But listen to this, it's beautiful. He says, I will dwell in them and walk in them, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. And he says, wherefore, and then he begins to quote out of Isaiah, come out from among them, and be ye separate, saith the Lord, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you, and will be a father unto you, and ye shall be my sons and daughters, saith the Lord Almighty. Boy, that's pretty good. I like plain talk. Mama used to say plain talk's easily understood. Didn't have a lot of question. 1 Thessalonians 4:7. You don't have to turn there. For God hath not called us unto uncleanness, but unto holiness. Ephesians 4:24. And that ye put on the new man, which after God is created in righteousness and true holiness. And that you put on the new man after God is created in righteousness. Interesting. 2 Corinthians 7:1, if we just read on down to the next chapter. Having therefore these promises, in other words, all those things that Paul just quoted out of those other books, he goes on to write, he says, having for these promises, dearly beloved, let us cleanse ourselves from all filthiness of the flesh and spirit, perfecting holiness in the fear of God. Y'all pray for my lungs tonight. But ye have, Ephesians 4:20, but ye have not so learned Christ. If so be that ye have heard him and have been taught by him, as the truth is in Jesus, that ye put off concerning the former conversation the old man, putting off the old man, which is corrupt according to the deceitful lusts, and be renewed in the spirit of your mind, that ye put on the new man, which after God is created in righteousness and true holiness. Two more sets of verses and I'll be done. 3 technically. James 1. I love the book of James. If you want to know how to live for God, go read James. James is an intense, several chapters, and it's not that big, but you talk about plain talk. Oh, James laid it on the line. He said, wherefore, lay apart all filthiness and superfluity of naughtiness, and receive with meekness the engrafted word, which is able to save your souls. But be ye doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves. And he goes on down a few verses, and he says, pure religion and undefiled before God and the Father is this, to visit the fatherless and the widows in their affliction, and to keep himself unspotted from the world. Wow, it's going to be hard. 1 John 3, 2 and 3. He said, beloved, now are we the sons of God, and doth not appear what we shall be. But we know that when he shall appear, let me go back over that. Beloved, now are we the sons of God, and it doth not appear what we shall be, but we know that when he shall appear, we shall be like him. For we shall see him as he is. And every man that hath this hope in him purifieth himself even as he is pure. In other words, they had that hope, Sister Tony, and so therefore they purified themselves. That's key. Of course, 1 Peter 1:16. Can't forget that. Because it is written, be ye holy, for I am holy. Now, probably what you think I'm going to do, or what the Lord's going to have me do, is go down this big laundry list, Sister Tony, of how that we're living wrong. Everybody probably thinks, Brother Bill, that I'm getting ready to pick apart all of our bad habits. And I will confess, Sister Missy, we might get there. But that ain't where we're going to start, and that ain't what God wants us to take away. Because God began to deal with me when I started listening to that song by the Hensons about how that the holiness that was in those people and the love that they had for God. And I thought about a love so strong that they would change themselves. Wait a minute. You see, the reason we don't preach on holiness is because we made it a tradition. The reason we don't preach on good, clean living is because we turned it into something, Sister Sheila, that it wasn't supposed to be. You see, I expected you to be holy because that was what we was taught to be. But we had no fundamental base for why we were supposed to be holy. But you see, he said, because I've got a hope, he said, I'm going to make myself pure. And in 2 Corinthians 7:1, if you go back to that for a second, he said, having these promises, dearly beloved, let us cleanse ourselves. See, we've had the wrong idea for just about 50 years or more about what holiness ought to be. I'm not going to tell you that they were wrong in how they were living, Brother Bill, because to be honest with you, I don't think they were. Where we begin to make a mistake, Brother Scott, is when it becomes a requirement and a command as opposed to a willingness out of your own heart.
Bless you, Lord.
You see, you can't make me change.
Nope. Bless you, Lord.
You ever been in a relationship with somebody and all they want you to do is change? You get in a relationship with them and they want you to change the way you dress, and they want you to change the way you wear your hair, and they want you to change the way you talk, and they want you to change who you hang out with. Somebody ought to hear me. Come on.
Amen.
And all of a sudden you find that you begin to change yourself, Dickie. That way you can fit whatever the environment is at the time. Why are you wearing those clothes? Well, I'm wearing those clothes that way my woman likes it. Why are you listening to that music? Well, I'm listening to that music because that's what my woman likes. And so therefore I'm a-changing. But you know what? When you have to compromise at the front end to gain their love, do you hear me? Then those relationships never last. They always end in disaster because either you wind up so miserable and you get out of it, or they never really loved you anyways and they go the other way. But see, that's where holiness become a problem, because we begin to teach it that if you wanted to get the blessings of God, you had to be holy before God. And I'm not going to tell you that ain't entirely true, but I'm going to tell you this: He didn't love you because you changed. He loved you before you changed.
Amen. Maybe a blessing, God.
He loved me, Sister Jada, when I was as bad as I could be. You say, how bad was he, Brother Shawn? I was pretty bad. There's things I can't tell you on public television. Can you say amen?
Amen.
If I got into it all and how bad it really was, Sister Diane, we'd all blush with shame. Because I led a good life, if that's what you want to call it. I played Satan's fool for a long time. I played it well. I did, Sister Sheila. I played it well. I heard a lot of good people in the process. Played a lot of good games, didn't I, Bill? I didn't have everybody fooled, but I thought I did. And but see, God loved me in spite of my own foolishness and my own sins. Can you say amen? Amen. He took me just like I was. He didn't ask me to change before He loved me. He just loved me and asked me to ask forgiveness. He just wanted me to ask Him to love me. That's really what it boils down to. Lord, forgive me, save me for my sins. God, please love me. I mean, ain't that really what you're saying? When you say, God, I'll change. God, I'll do what you want me to do. Lord, just forgive me. Basically, you're just saying, God, love me. And the truth about it is, He already did love you.
Amen.
But see, holiness to us becomes something that we've done in order to gain the favor of God. It become a means to an end for us. No longer did we use it as a way to please God, but we used it as a way to gain His favor and in a way to manipulate His power.
Amen.
And you say, what holiness are you talking about, Brother Shawn? I'm just going to be real blunt. You all just going to have to ride with me. This is a hard message, but you might as well get on board. I'm talking about about churches that put rulers on the door, and if your skirt didn't hit a certain spot, you wasn't allowed in. I'm talking about people who would preach against shoestrings and tassels on your feet and wearing neckties. I'm talking about churches that told you you couldn't cut your hair. I'm talking about churches that told you that you couldn't have TVs in your house, but after that suited them, they all got a TV even though everybody else had got rid of them. I'm talking about churches that set standards that was not biblical or not correct, and they sure wasn't in the correct motive from God.
Amen.
That was holiness.
Come on.
And so, we turned it into something that become a stench unto God's nostrils, and so nobody will preach it on it anymore.
Amen. Bless you, Lord.
Well, we don't want to get on that, Brother Bill. They'll think we're holiness. We can't preach on that in here. They'll think we're holiness. We don't want them to think we're holiness, because if they think we're holiness, Sister Jada, they won't come back, because nobody likes them holiness people, because all the holiness people do is preach you to hell.
Bless you.
Y'all know it's true. You might as well get with me.
Yep. That's what they say.
Oh, no, heavens, don't call us a holy roller. You're part of the tongue gang or whatever. We don't want to be known. Listen, I want to be known as God knows me. I want to be known as God would have me known, Brother Scott. And you know what? I think, if the Lord leads me in that direction, we're going to get to a point where I want to be called holy before God. And you know what? In the meantime, if He wants me running around this building, let Him call me a holy roller. I'm cool with that. I ain't been ashamed of Him to this point since He got a hold of me in Auburn, and I ain't going to start now. You know what? I watch myself sometimes, Brother Porky, I look like a crazy person with that bass up there. But you know what? I don't care. And I'll shout if He wants me to shout. And I'll run the aisle if He wants me to run an aisle. And if He wants me to run around this building, I'll run around it. Because I'm unashamed of the gospel of Jesus Christ. And you know what? If I got to get up on the aisle at Walmart and preach the gospel, Sister Tony, I'll do it. And if I got to pray for you in the aisle at Food City, I'll do it. Glory to God. It don't matter where I'm at. I better be living it. And see, that's the problem. They wanted to live holy on Sunday, but they didn't want nobody to do what they was going on behind closed doors.
Amen. Bless you, Lord.
But listen, that's not the kind of holy God I serve. Because the holy God I serve is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Amen.
Amen. Bless you, Lord. Bless you, God.
It became a requirement, Brother Bill, when you got saved that you had to be holy. And I'm picking on people that I ain't experienced. This comes from good. And see, if I do this, and I'm less apt to offend people. There we go again, right? But some of them churches down south, boy, they had some hard ones. There was one church, and this come from some good, honest, holiness people, for truth. And they had a church down there. One of them had a ruler on the door. And if your skirt didn't hit the ruler, then you wasn't allowed in. If it wasn't a certain spot on that ruler, they didn't let you in. They had another one that if you wanted to get saved, and this is for the women, men had a much easier job under the holiness rule. All we had to do was wear long sleeve shirts and take off our wedding bands. We had it all covered. If you got rid of your TV, everything else is wide open. You was cool. You just had to wear your long sleeve and see you'd be holy tonight, Bill. If you get rid of that ring on your finger, you'd be fine. You see, you couldn't wear those. Watches were fine though. And
Could I smoke?
no, can't smoke. We're holiness.
Or could I chew?
No. But now you can have a TV monitor and hook it up to a VCR. But anyways,
Well, can I handle serpents?
no, that's the wrong set of holiness. We don't fool with them.
Oh.
See, they're wrong too.
Oh.
Then women, if they wanted to pray, and you didn't meet their dress code, they would take the woman, when they said they wanted to go to the altar, they'd take them to the back. They'd make them wash their makeup off, they could take their jewelry off, and they had a dress size for everybody in there, and they'd make them put them on an appropriate dress before they'd let them in the altar of God. Let me tell you something. When that veil was rent, when Christ died on Calvary, He said, I could come into the throne boldly, and I don't have to follow no man-made traditions to reach the throne of God. Yeah, I'm preaching on holiness the way they ruined it, and I'm getting ready to preach on holiness the way God wanted it. Glory. You say you're a man of authority on that? When God's speaking through me, I can be a man of authority.
Amen.
Let me tell you something. I don't love my wife because she wears makeup. Glory. I've heard of those women, and they get up in the morning before their husband does, and they put their face on, and they go to bed after the man does, and he's asleep. That way they can take their face off, because they don't want their man ever to see them without their makeup. And Sister Tony's covering her face back here. But I'm going to tell you something. I didn't marry my woman because she had makeup on. I married her because I loved her. I don't care if she ever puts another drop on, Sister Sheila. I want her just the way that she is. Somebody ought to hear me tonight. God ain't marrying me because I'm wearing long sleeves and I ain't cutting my hair and I get rid of my TV. God loves me. God loves me just the way I am. He didn't make no mistakes with me. He didn't make no mistakes with you. And He wants you just the way you are.
Amen.
We don't want to call you a holy roller.
No, it's a different role.
Different kind of rolling. Murray Hart does good like a medicine.
Amen. There you go. That one.
Preaching on Sister Tony back here. But you all see what we're saying tonight, right?
Amen.
We can't say we're holiness because it's been corrupted on this side over here so much that we can't be associated with them because they're so condemning and judgmental that nobody wants to be a part of that group. I can worship with anybody, Brother Pork, if they want to worship Jesus. I don't care what you are. I'll take you. Somebody said to me the other day, said somebody told me you might be offended by tattoos. Somebody got a tattoo? No. I said, I don't care about tattoos. Whatever you want to do, it's your body. I said, I got over that problem a long time ago. I said, John Bedwell's got them all of his arms.
Amen.
Morgan George has got them. I don't care.
Yep.
Whatever. I said, I thought about 2-3 times.
So, I mean,
Well, I don't, and you know what?
We'll have to get saved.
I don't care what you do. I've thought about it, but I don't think it's right for me. It's between you and God. See, therein lies the problem.
There you go.
Therein lies the problem. What's wrong for me might not be wrong for you. What? You saying God's changes and inconsistent? No, I'm telling you that you can make an idol before God out of anything. And He said you better not have anything between me and you. And when anything becomes between me and you, then you got a problem.
That's right.
Bless Him, Lord.
Oh, I might get on gluttony here in a minute.
Don't you dare.
Well, I might have to talk about my 49 hot wings, but now we don't know now. I like Brother Jordan
Well,
Davis.
if you're getting on yourself, that's one thing.
Well, you know, Brother Jordan Davis said gluttony's a made-up sin. Nobody believes that one anyways. He was joking.
Okay.
Listen, I've got addictive tendencies. I get a hold of the wrong thing, I get addicted. And I don't mean drugs. Now, TV shows, video games. You say, how bad? Well, I can neglect a lot of things, Sister Tony, to watch TV and play video games. I like them, Vicki. All the time. I grew up in that generation, man. David had him an Atari, and I had me a Nintendo and a Super Nintendo and the first PlayStation. I got Missy's dad hooked on PlayStation. I did, didn't I, Missy? He went out and bought his own, had him playing WWF. Yes, sir. I'd go up there and see Missy, and me and Charlie get on the floor and play video games. True story, ain't it? Yeah, and we would do that after me and him got married, or me and him got married. Well, we got a whole other concept of holiness going on now. Woo! Better back it up.
It's legal now.
It's legal. After me and her got married, me and Charlie would still play video games together. But it would get to the point where I was playing that all the time. It got between me and serving God. Now, somebody else might be able to play a video game and not have an issue with it. But now, when I play a video game, it gets in my way. I'm kind of past that now. I can play and not eat my mind up with it now. But for years, I didn't touch them hardly, Brother Scott, because anytime I had that going on, I still have to get rid of games on my phone all the time because I find myself not reading my Bible and not praying like I should. It becomes a problem to me. Now, you know what? I might have problems with alcohol or be an alcoholic, and I may never be able to go into a bar because it'd be too much temptation. It may not be right for me. I'd be leading myself into temptation after my own lust. Now, you know what? If you've never been an alcoholic, the Lord might be able to take you right in there and minister to somebody. You see what I'm saying? It's not that there's a difference in sin because sin is sin. But what we're talking about is when you've got something personal in your life that is getting between you and God. And see, the holiness people, in their effort to do God's will begin to bear down on everybody, trying to make them do what they thought was right. I'll go as far as to tell you that I don't even know that what they were doing was wrong. But when they made everybody else do it, it became a problem. And that mutated into doing it out of love, to do it to get the blessings of God. Because God, they were like, at first it was like, I'm giving this up because I love God and I want to. And then it become, you have to live this way or God can't bless you. You have to live this way or God ain't going to talk to you. You have to live this way or you're not really saved anyways. Because when you get saved, you're going to want to live holy and you have to start immediately getting, and that become the command. And they went about that totally wrong.
Some churches,
Say what, Lisa?
some churches even have it on a wall in frame.
Well, that's right. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you something tonight. I want you to listen to me. You need to be holy before God. You need to be holiness before God. Amen? Ain't nobody can back up on that. That's the Word of God. If you got doubt about it, I can go read every verse I just read and prove that you got to be holy before God. Can you say amen?
Amen.
Listen to this.
Holiness.
I was going crazy in the hotel the other night. Missy and the kids had went to sleep. We was down there because she had to go see a doctor early the next morning. We was down in Lexington. Some of you got to bear with me. I can't read my own handwriting half the time. I don't want to be holy to receive the blessings of God. Listen to this. I want to be holy because I've already received the blessings of God. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Oh, listen, we're about to go somewhere with this. I want to be holy because I'm already blessed. I want to be holy because I love God and because He loved me. I don't want to be holy so that I can be loved and can be blessed. You hear that? Listen, Missy didn't want me to change. Missy married me knowing that I was the idiot that I was. And every man that's found a good woman can say things like that. You just as well say amen. Yeah. Give me another one there, Lisa.
Amen.
And you know what? And the truth about it is I had some problems she didn't know about. That's another conversation. But Missy married me out of love. But because I loved her, Scott, I began to change my life to become a better man for her. Can you say amen? And you see what happens when God first loves us and He gives us that redeeming grace and we receive salvation? Then you know what I want to do, Sister Diane? I want to become holy. I want to change. I want to lay off all the filth of the world. I don't want to be known as I was known. And I don't want to do as I was doing. Because why? Because I have found me a groom as the bride of Christ. I have found me a groom that's good to me. And I want to be pleasing unto the husband. Can you hear what God is saying tonight? Yeah. Listen, He didn't ask me to change to marry me. He married me the way I am. But once I get married and I fell in love, then I'm obligated to go toward Him and begin to say, God, I'll take off every unclean thing in the world that you want me to get rid of, and I'll shed every sin in my life.
Bless you, Lord. Amen.
I don't want to be holy to get the blessings of God. I've done got them. I want to be holy because I love God. I want to be holy because He loves me. I know, and I'm not taking away from the fact that if you're living in sin, it is very minimal what God will do in your life. I understand that. I'm not taking away from the fact that in order for God to fully use you, you must be living holy. I understand that. I'm not taking away from that. So when I make that statement that I'm not doing it to get the blessings of God, I don't want you to misunderstand that, because I can assure you, if God is leading you into changing your life, then you better change it. Because when God begins to work on you and He begins to nag you in order to change your life, you better start changing, because otherwise the blessings and the favor of God is going to begin to run out. You men might as well get with me on this. I like to pick on marriage right along. How many of you ever had your wife get on to you about something, wants you to do something? Or women, how many times you got on to your husbands? We'll spin that around. We're a little bit outnumbered in here tonight. Yeah, Dave. And men say this, they nag all the time, you know. When you going to fix this? When you going to fix this? When you going to fix this? I'll do it tomorrow. When, yeah. Something like that. And they get on to you and on to you and on to you. You get on to them as the case is, and they still won't do it, and they still won't do it. And the next thing you know, you're in a full-blown fight. The man don't know what he's done to get out of your good graces, and you ain't speaking to him. Can you say amen? Alright, not that me means to do that, but you know the example I'm driving at. See, listen, that's the way that God works in our life. God loves us, God takes us, but then He begins to work on us little by little, and if we don't heed His call when He says, alright, it's time for you to begin to change, to become a better person than you are right now. If we don't heed that call, then we begin to run into issues. Can you say amen? The blessings and the favor of God to begin to fall. Listen, when your heart is pure before God, oh, Jesus, help me. When your heart is pure before God, you're just as good as every long-haired, skirt-wearing, no makeup having, no pierced ears lady sitting on the front row. When your heart, listen to me, is pure before the Lord, you're better than anybody wearing any kind of three-piece suit. Somebody ought to hear it tonight. The standard at which I dress is not the standard at which I live for God. But when I'm living for God, He might set a standard on my dress. Woo! Come on. Amen. We've done this for too long. We won't touch the idea of holiness for way too long. Live holy and be blessed. It's fine. But we miss the entire point. We miss the entire drive of holiness. Sacrifice and love. My daddy and my mommy and him first got married, neither of them was saved. Daddy was a good man, but like any young man, he had his caveats. And he liked to play a little poker, smoke little cigarettes, and drink Black Label beer. And they was living up in Indiana. And he went on the street corner one night, and him and one of some of his buddies come up, and they had an apartment or a house up there they was living in. Some of his buddies pulled up, and they was sitting on the street getting drunk. And that wasn't getting rowdy. They really wasn't doing anything wrong, but it did not sit well with my mother at all. And if I remember correctly, she may have called the police on them. But I want you to know that when my daddy got in the house, that was the last time that my daddy got on the street corner and drank with his buddies.
Amen.
Why did Dad do that? Sure that it had a little bit to do with her wrath and her ire. She was a little bit angry. She's redheaded. She got a good temper. Boy. She said she wanted for her. Yeah, he does kind of fray out a little bit. He really does. He really does kind of stick out. I hadn't noticed that, but you're right. Teresa said something about that the other day. And it does kind of get wiry when she, and she'll set that jaw. You know you look. But anyways, but my daddy loved her. And so therefore he changed. And he give up that. He give up drinking and he give up cigarettes before he ever got saved. Because he loved my mother. Alright, you with me? My mother took him like he was, knowing his problems, but as they moved through the relationship, God, my mother, meaning that I'll get to God in a minute, my mother, working him to become a better man, he began to drop these things in his life. God in the relationship takes us like we are, but because He loves us, He pressures us, Brother Porky, in order to make changes in our lives that are better for Him and us. And He's not just thinking about Himself. He's thinking about us. Those changes He makes in our lives, Sister Diane, are good for us. To improve us. I want to live holy before God. What's that? We should want to be holy. See, there's a problem. There's a difference between a command to be holy and a love to be holy. See, my mother didn't command my daddy. Actually, she probably did. But let's just roll with that
I
metaphor.
don't think.
I don't know. But you don't know, when somebody commands you to do something, that don't fly. I've got rebellious issues.
Yes, we all know.
I have authoritative issues.
We all know.
And when I'm in a certain position of authority, and I don't think somebody's got clout over me, I don't intend to let them exhibit any clout over me. I'm just speaking truth. And me and my sister was working together, and she would tell you this was the truth. And her and Dr. Combs had a little different relationship. Teresa kind of managed the practice. And when Dr. Combs didn't suit her just right and things wasn't made in the best business interest, Teresa would line her out real good. And so something was done one day and it didn't suit her real well, and she called me and Dr. Combs into a room to chew us out. And I want you to know that did not fly. I didn't care if I was in the wrong or not, which I wasn't, but I didn't care if I was in the wrong or not. She was not in a position to tell me anything. Okay, that attitude is the attitude that we got when our fellow Christians begin to make us follow a certain ideology. Can you say amen?
Amen.
I'm not saying my rebellion is right, by the way. I'm using it as an example. You all pray for me. Okay? But that's the attitude we got. And if you all come in here and I said, from now on, there'll be no hair dye in this house. There'll be no, me and Missy thought them holding us down south. We thought they didn't even believe in wearing beards.
Wow.
But they did. They were fine. It just coincidentally, we was in a place where everybody was shaving. It just was, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it had nothing to do with it. It was just, we just kind of thought it went with the motif, but it didn't. And they were good to us. We were in amongst a bunch of holiness people down there, and I want to say this because some of them folks in Alabama hear these messages. And I want you to know that at the Spirit of Opelika Spirit of Holiness Church, Brother Greg Roberts, a man who I have an endless amount of respect for as a minister of God and as a brother of God, him and his wife and the people of that church were excellent to me and my wife. And they treated us in holiness the way that we should be treated. We come in open about the fact that we didn't know about the holiness way. I mean, I was raised up in it, but we had gotten away from that. And the Lord clearly led us to that church. I got to testify for just a minute. We're back on topic. And the Lord clearly led us to that church. And I was trying to run from God. I was playing church, but I didn't want to go. I wanted to do my own thing with my own problems and keep it hid. And God led us into that church. And I seen real holiness people live in a real holiness way. And at least the majority of them people were doing it because they loved God and not because that they felt like that they were made to do it. Can you say amen?
Amen.
Amen.
They were not living in that bondage like that a lot of other holiness people were. And you know what? Me and Missy were open with them about that fact that we didn't know. We had respect for them when we were in their house because Missy wouldn't wear djewelry. She didn't wear heavy makeup. She made a little foundation on. I wore long sleeves. I would cuff them up. We didn't wear jewelry. We kept our wedding bands on. Was the only thing jewelry-wise. We respected them, and they respected us. They respected me to the point that when a bass player left, that they actually let me in the pulpit to play the bass, and that's unheard of in holiness churches. But they knew that my heart was right before God, and that me and Missy were doing our best to seek out the way and to try to find the truth. And you know what? That's the kind of love and acceptance that you're supposed to find. Listen, if God leads me to dress like a Mennonite, that's fine. But I ought to let you get to that point on your own.
Amen.
Amen.
Yep.
And so, I don't want to take a dig at them good people down there, because there were some good people down there. Good people. I love them. I'd go be in church with them today if I had the opportunity. That's how much I love them. That's how good they was to me. And that's how good they treated us well, didn't they, Missy? They did. We had a good experience at Opelika overall. It was really good. And they were holiness people. And they lived here. I mean, they were textbook. And if that's the word you want to use. And they were good. But you know what? To live holy before God can't be a commandment from me. It's got to be done out of love of your own heart. You say, Shawn, why do you give up playing video games and things like that? Because that I got love for God and I want to get closer to Him. Do you miss them? Oh, my flesh does on occasion, but I live. It's all right. Trust me, my mind is much better without them. True story. You know, it's just like anything else you're addicted to. Your flesh rises up now and then, Sister Lisa, and you think that'd be fun. You know, but it's like, no, it wasn't worth it then, and it ain't worth it now.
Sure.
You know?
I used to take all my video games off my tablet.
Yeah. And, you know, we deal with these things and we fight with these things. And listen, and you say, well, Shawn, are you going to tell us how we're supposed to live holy? Yeah, I am. You're supposed to live holy the way God tells you to live it according to the Word of God.
Yep.
And you know what? If you give us all enough time and enough understanding, we'd all live the same way. I believe that because the Word of God's only interpreted one way. I don't believe there's multiple ways to interpret it. I believe there's one interpretation of it, Bill. And I believe if you had two people very sincere, Brother Scott, and you stuck them on either side of the world, and you let them pray and seek God, and they were of same understanding and IQ and same sincerity, that when they come together in the middle, they'd have the same understanding of God. I believe that. But you know what? We all ain't made the same. And we all ain't on the same journey, and all of us ain't got the same history, Dickie. And because of what we went through in our past and what we're going to go through in our future, all of our pathways are different. But you know what? If you give us all enough time and enough desire, we'd all come to the same understanding of God, Sister Kathy. Who knows? Y'all might see me next week, and I might be dressed like an Amish. I'm joking, a little. But I'm going to tell you, if God led me to do that, if I thought that's what I needed to do in order to please my God, to express my love for Him, that's what I'd do. That's right, Brother Bill. Thank you. Thank you. That's an excellent point. Brother Bill said the only reason he's wearing a tie and everything, like dresses like he does most Sundays, is because, and long sleeves, because the Lord told him he had to. And so Bill does it. I've seen Bill, because of him and the Lord having company, a lot of times Bill will take his jewelry off when he prays for people. Just the Lord led him to do something. It's just something for him and God. You know? Holiness before God. I come in here and I wear this because that I don't want to be the stereotypical preacher. I want to be able to, and I feel like that's what God wants me to do at this time. I don't feel like I'm supposed to be a suit and tie kind of guy. Maybe I'll get there. That's fine if that's what He tells me to do. I do dread that slightly. But, you know, I'll not lie, I'm not a big fan of ties these days. And a brother of mine in the Lord by the name of Paul Williams was up at Wayland United Methodist, and me and Missy met him going through the Experiencing God program, and then later I think he might be over at New Generation or something like that over in Sandersville. But he felt to go to Haiti and do a mission trip, and through his business, and I'll say the big story, he loaded up I don't know how many rice and beans and all this stuff, and he took it to Haiti. And he got down there at this church in Haiti, and I forget who he was, where he was working through the, I think, New Generation over there, and they got down at this church in Haiti. And Paul gets ready to go to church. Now, Haiti's a poor country, right? Arguably one of the poorest on the Western Hemisphere. And maybe the poorest one, but anyways, a very poor country. And he said, I think he said that church maybe held about 300 or something. And Paul said it's poor country, so Paul wore jeans and t-shirts. Mostly, maybe polo like this or something. But he said, son of a gun, if them people didn't start coming in, and every one of them had on a three-piece suit. And Paul said, I was way underdressed, and them people poor as church mice, as the old saying goes. And one of them had, I think he walked for 3 days in order to get to that church service. But he had on his suit and tie when he got there. And they would take what little money they had, and they would buy them a beautiful church outfit. That way they could wear their best into church to sacrifice to God. To present their best. Wow. So that's why we dress up on Sundays. I mean, who really knew? Right? We always thought they done it because it was a fashion show. Thank you, Mindy. Very well placed. And, but you think about it, Bill. But you see the difference? You see the difference? They done it out of their heart and the love for God,
Yep.
as opposed to out of proving somebody else how good they were.
Yep.
Come on, do you hear what holiness is?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
sorry.
yeah. I just spent $500 on that. You know, $500 on a suit and I can feed the poor, whatever.
Amen. And that's, yeah,
I'm happy with what I got.
that's a difference, right?
I'll take what I gotta have, but I'm happy with what I got. Amen. And I've said it before about this church. I love this church. One of the most beautiful churches I've ever been in my life. But I'd rather we have a drop ceiling and we not have to pay to heat this thing. That way we can do something in the community better. Can you say amen?
Amen.
And that's no disrespect to this beautiful church. And I love the house. I love this building. But I'm just stating a fact of a point of practicality. And now, and yeah, you just want a projector. But do you understand what holiness is now better than you did when we got started?
Yep.
It ain't a set of rules or commandments. It's about living a love relationship with God and doing what He leads you to do. Sister Jada, I can't tell you how many times I've turned off the TV or got off a website because that I realized it was not pleasing to God. Can you say amen?
Amen.
Wow. I can't tell you how many times I've stopped telling jokes because that they were not pleasing to God. I can't tell you how many words I've taken out of my vocabulary because that I discovered through my relationship with God that they were not pleasing to Him. Did I do it because He was mean to me? No. No, I done it because I loved Him. Because He would show me and I'd say, oh God, I'm sorry, man. You know, sometimes, Missy, I'll do something. We was in the store the other day and I dropped something on her head. And what was it anyways? And it was, yeah, no wonder she was listening, right? And anyways, we was in the grocery store and I don't know, something hit her in the head and I killed myself laughing. It didn't hurt her. But anyways, probably not a good example of what I'm trying to say, but there's occasionally, she thought it was funny too. But occasionally, you know, like you bump into her, I'll do something to her, and your automatic reflex is, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that. Why? Because I love her and I don't want to do her no harm. It's the same thing with God. God will show you those things and you're like, oh God, I am so sorry. Oh man, I didn't mean to do that. Say, Shawn, while you're on this topic, you got to do with anybody in this building? No. It ain't directed at nobody particularly. God began to deal with me. If it hits you, it hits you, fine. That's whatever. I mean, that's the reason God had me preach it. But God began to deal with me on holiness. I'm not ashamed of the word holiness. I ought to be able to say that I am holiness. Not out of a denominational way or a traditional way, but out of a purity of the heart way. I'm holiness before God. Do you believe in living holiness? Yes, I do. Laying apart all the filth of the world, living holy before God? Yes, I do. I believe that. I'm holiness. Absolutely. Has He brought me to a full understanding of all the bad stuff? Probably not, but I'm sure if I live long enough He will. You know? And to be fair with you, you know what? I may go down the road a few years and I may, you can't never tell what the Lord might have me do. I might have big long sleeves and wearing a three-piece suit and then again, I might have me a big long beard, have hair like John the Baptist. But you see my point, right?
You start wearing a robe, we want.
Yeah, if I start wearing a robe.
Yeah.
I feel to come to a close right there tonight. Be ye holy, for I am holy. It's supposed to be like Him, right? They say after you're married for so long, you start looking like one another.
Oh, me.
I know. I feel so sorry for her. Scott and Kathy's looking at each other back here too.
If that's going to happen, you need to look more like her.
I would agree. I need to look like more like her. But they say after you're married for so long that you start looking like one another. Do you realize, do you get how that carries over to us? If we're in a relationship with God so long, we're going to start looking like Christ. Can you say amen? That's being holy. That's being holy. Give God a hand clap of praise.